Good day, everyone. In this lesson, we will tackle about the psychology in the philosopher and psychologist named William James and his theory of the self and the principles of psychology. The introduction of psychology in the word of origin. What is psychology? Psychology is the scientific study of human thought and behavior. The word psychology comes from a Greek word psycho, meaning life, and logos, meaning an explanation of it.
The importance of psychology. So, psychology helps people in large part because it can explain why people act the way we do. And basically, psychology is a kind of professional insight. Psychology can help people improve their decision making, stress management, and behavior based on understanding past behavior to better predict future behavior. So, what is important of psychology in our life as a student? Psychology is very important me as a student because psychology shed light of human behavior and help us to understand why we act the way we do, to change, influence, or control behavior to make positive, constructive, meaningful, and lasting change in people lives and to influence their behavior for the better. So basically, the field offer insight into our human experience, help us connect with others, and can mean difference between a life well lived and a life of challenges.
William James was born in 1842 to a famous family. His father was deeply interested in philosophy and theology. His brother, Henry James, was the author of such famous works such as The Turn of the Screw and The Portrait of a Lady. While yung godfather niya naman na si Ralph Waldo Emerson is the leader of the Transcendentalist movement. Also, his sister is an author. James' primary education was in medicine. He actually had an MD on his name. Also, although he had no formal education in psychology or philosophy, he still eventually became a lecturer in both of these fields. William James, best known for functionalism, James' large theory of emotion and pragmatism. He was also one of the first to postulate a theory of the self in the principles of psychology. William James yung two aspects of the self, the I self and the me self. William James states the I self is reflects what people see or perceive themselves doing in the physical world. Ito yung nakikita ng tao or public sa atin. For example, walking, eating, writing, singing, dancing, and so on. Me-self naman, sinabi ni Williams, ang me-self ay more subjective and psychological phenomenon. It refers to individuals or reflection about themselves. For example, how you see yourself, how you characterize yourself. Or, for example, athletic, smart, and cooperative.
These are the benefits or significance of the theory of the self by William James. His theory contributed to the development of psychology. Based on the Internet's Encyclopedia of Philosophy, the challenges highlighted by his theory of self required him to turn to philosophy, where he constructed his pragmatic theory, which became the most influential book in American philosophy. It is widely used in research and studies. William James' theory has been extensively employed in psychological studies in order to gain a better understanding of human behavior and knowledge. Consciousness of oneself. Because of his theory, people become aware of distinguishing themselves in the category of I and me self. It will address the question of who am I as they recognize their characteristics that link to the theory of self. Self-understanding. Individuals who become self-aware understand themselves better than anybody else. They will know their innermost personal identity if they acknowledge the factors that impact, influence, or make them. For instance, William James defined three components of me-self: the material self, the social self, and the spiritual self. If one becomes aware of how she interacts with different people in her life, like family, friends, or loved ones, she will understand her social roles in each category that relates to self-view. Self-development. The awareness and understanding people have of themselves will lead to their self-development. The Theory of Self by William James discusses the difference between the real self and the ideal self. According to him, our real self is our self-image, whereas our ideal self is the self we aspire to be. Therefore, a person must have a congruent alignment between their actual self and ideal self to attain personal growth in a healthy and productive way. Among all of the terms tackled in the Theory of Self by William James, the alignment of the real self to the ideal self has impacted me the most. It made me realize that this college life I am taking, particularly the course, must be what my actual self desires to become the ideal self I aim to be. My future goals should be aligned with what I am doing now.
Here are some examples for William James's theory of the self, and a little summarization about it. It's already known that there are two aspects of the self in his theory, which are me-self and I-self. I-self is the self as the subject. It's what we do in our daily lives and what others can see, such as talking, eating, and sleeping. Meanwhile, the me-self is how we characterize ourselves, or in other words, it is the self as an object. Some examples are adventurous, responsible, and humorous. Now, you might think it's always positive things about the me-self, but it could also have examples like lazy, selfish, or disrespectful. It all depends on what you think describes you. In easier terms, I is the verb and me is the adjective. For a more elaborate example, let's use them in sentences. I walked my dog to the park. As you can see in the I self, it shows what we do in the physical world. The next, it was me who was terrible. In this sentence, terrible describes the me, and that is what the me self means, giving ourselves character and depth. Now, William's theory had three components of the me self, and these are material self, social self, and spiritual self. Material self is the things we physically possess for ourselves, objects that we call mine. Some examples are the clothes you have, jewelry, and other things that you own. Social self, on the other hand, is how we portray ourselves within a group or with others. This is like what roles we think we play in society. You could be like the mom friend in your group, or the student in class, or even just being a Filipino citizen. Lastly, the spiritual self, which isn't really connected to spirituality. Rather, it connects with your own spirit. It is how you view the world just on your own, and it's often called the true you inside your mind that no one else knows. We hope you learned something from this mini video that we made. Thank you for watching and have a great day.